I'd like to call the August 22nd meeting to order at 6:30. We all please rise for the, roll call, please. I mean, I call it to order. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pop. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. And now I'd like Deacon Mark Otten from St. Boniface to please come forward and do our invocation. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for the invitation to share prayer with you all tonight. Let us begin by calling upon God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of our life and the opportunity to serve the people of Monee. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. Heavenly Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping those in our community. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mark. And now we'll do roll call. Roll call, please.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Here.
Trustee Holston? Trustee Horn?
Here.
Trustee Razik?
Present.
Trustee Udris?
Here.
Okay. We're going to call our fire chief, Carl Nealon, up right now to make a little presentation. Carl?
Well, thanks for the invite. I'm just here to give a quick overview of the new tower ladder that's going to serve the fire district and the community. So I'm kind of short on speeches and long on demonstrations, so we're going to get right to it. Back in August of 2016 is when this project started, and we just took delivery of it this month, so a 2-year project. A committee of 6 people from the fire district was brought together to come up with ideas, look at other tower ladders, basically come up with what we needed to serve the community. After that, we sat down with a couple salesmen. They had sent out the engineering, and at the end of the day, you get a high-priced drawing that you're looking at, and you sign off on it. It goes out to bid, and then the factory starts to build it. There's 2 inspection trips up to Wisconsin where it was built. 3 of the 6 committee members make that trip, and it's during that period that if there's something not right or you want to change something, that's your opportunity to make adjustments. The cost of the vehicle, $1.2 million. The vehicle has approximately $60,000 of equipment on it, hose, nozzles, tools, etc. It does have a very good firefighter safety systems built into it, both in the cab and the ladder itself. The cab has an airbag system just like you have in your cars. It also has side roll protection, which deploys air curtains just like some of the high-priced vehicles do, all designed to help protect our firefighters. The ladder will have 100 foot of reach. The ladder tip is rated for 1,000 pounds, so the bucket, as some people call it, will hold 1,000 pounds, which is basically 3 firemen geared up or 2 firemen and a couple of civilians that we're rescuing. It can go 11 degrees below grade, so if we have to reach down into a creek or something for a swift water rescue, you can accomplish that. And it will go 76 degrees above grade, which is pretty steep.
That's an angle. What?
It needs 16 feet of width for the outriggers to go out for stabilization. There's ways to get around that if you're in a narrow area and only going to work off one side. You can do a thing called short jacking, so that kind of narrows the playing field up a little bit. It'll flow 1,000 gallons of water per minute from the tip. The pump is rated at 1,500 gallons per minute. It has a 400-gallon water tank, and some of the pros and cons, or the pros, I should say, of the tower ladder is you don't have to climb it. A straight stick without the bucket on the end, you have to climb up that entire distance. And if you have a victim, you got to bring that victim all the way down. The tower ladder, you can put them in the bucket, retract the ladder back down, turn around, bring them down. You can actually set them right on the ground and go back up for more victims or whatever you have to do. So it kind of expedites the rescue process. The towers also have hose connections up in the basket or the bucket. So if you need hose lines working at elevated platforms, flat roofs of warehouses, third-story windows of hotels or whatever the case is, it gives you a means of getting water and hoses up there instead of bringing up all the way from the ground. And again, the platforms are, in my opinion, the better choice of the two, because it gives you a variety of services that you can provide, from firefighting, technical rescue stuff, and assist in the police department with evidence recovery or something that might be on an elevated situation. So, is there any questions?
Carl, the only point I wanted to bring up is when we look at our fire station, it won't fit.
Oh, we made sure before we ever put it.
Where's it going to be parked, Carl?
It is at Station 1 on Main
Will be
Street.
Oh.
It fits. Believe me, myself.
Wrong again.
Myself and the other 5 people on the committee measured, remeasured, looked at
Wow.
the drawing, made sure that everything.
That's impressive.
So, yeah, it all
Thank
fits.
you, Carl. Well, we're going to take a brief moment, and we'd like everyone to go out and look at our new $1.2 million truck for the safety of the people of Monee and the companies that are here.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Carl.
All right.
So we'll have a brief we'll now move to open to the public, agenda items only. Please step forward, and if you have any comments to make. Okay, we'll move on then with, excuse me, the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to, and a second to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Move to the clerk's report. Tanisha?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just trying to see if there was an update on the transient merchant ordinance. Anyone?
Sorry about that. Still in progress. As soon as I get the other half of my committee in town, we're going to have some meetings and start getting that wrapped up. So, and as long as we're talking along with that, we're also going to be getting the fishing issue wrapped up as well. So look for that in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. End of report.
All righty. And I know it's a first, but I have no report. So we'll move to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Item H1 on the agenda is an EMA mutual aid agreement that is before you. The Suburban Mutual Assistance Response Team, the acronym of SMART, EMA Director Yulaskis is requesting permission to enter into this agreement, which will provide the opportunity for additional emergency resources in a time of need. The agreement and associated documents have been reviewed by Attorney Gruchevsky, and the motion is to authorize entering into the mutual aid agreement.
Could I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Second, discussion.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Will there be any costs associated with this?
What was it?
Randy, could I ask you to step forward, please? Question is, are there any costs associated with this?
There is a cost to that. There's a $100 annual fee, and that goes towards internet dispatching. So when there is an incident, that goes out on a joint internet page, and then we're able to respond via cell phone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Razak.
Yes.
Trustee Udris.
Yes.
Trustee Blue.
Yes.
Trustee Gray.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a Will County land use, notice of a Will County land use public hearing. Attached, you have in your packet a notice from the Will County Land Use Department of a public hearing to be held on September the 4th, 2018 at 6:30 PM regarding the proposed solar farm to be located on property at the northwest corner of Pauline Road and Will Center Road. The village did not receive the notice in time to place this on a P&Z agenda, and the hearing is before the next P&Z meeting. Therefore, the village board, if you so choose, has the opportunity to voice an opinion on this and either provide a written response or an appearance in person at that hearing. So if required, a motion to authorize the administrator to create a written response in accordance with board action and send the same to the land use department if you so wish.
What is our pleasure?
My recommendation, Mr. Mayor, would be to allow the P&Z committee time to review the impact to the village, if any.
The hearing for on Will County land use will take place before the next P&Z, so we won't have an opportunity to review it at P&Z and then send it to Will County.
I see, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. Do we have any idea of the impact on our village?
I did take a look, a drive by the location, and as the application indicates, it is row crop farmed out there. So there's no other buildings, on that parcel, and they are limiting that according to the application to 2 megawatt. That seems to be the cutoff where the return on investment is, if you will. So there really is no foreseeable impact on travel and neighboring units at all because there aren't any buildings right there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Could I then have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Or a second? Larry?
We should define the motion.
Yes.
What motion is it?
Okay, so the motion would be to approve this land use because of the dates, okay? Because we don't have, it's going to be over September 4. We won't have time to do anything.
I thought the motion was to authorize the administrator to create a written response.
The written response, okay?
In accordance with board action.
Which
Yes.
would, go ahead, David.
Yeah,
Go
and I was just wanted to clarify what is the written response, the direction you'd like to
Okay.
give me. That should be
Yes.
included in the motion.
Yes.
Got the motion, right?
If I may, maybe the response should indicate that the board has just had the opportunity to review this. We haven't had ample opportunity to review it, but at this present time, it appears though we do not have an objection to the same. That way you at least have something on the record, and you also tell them, it's not like we've had this for 6 months, and you could say at this point in time, it appears as though we do not have an objection to this proposed use.
I have another question. Why, is there a reason why we can't ask P&Z to meet before that meeting? Have a special meeting?
There probably is no reason other than the consideration to P&Z based on the request being made here. This is a courtesy request because it is within 1.5 miles of our jurisdiction. However, if it were controversial, my recommendation to the board would have been to convene a P&Z meeting ASAP and have it reviewed. It appears that this is just fairly straightforward, no obstructions, no impact, negative impact to any surrounding, buildings, and the landowner is very cooperative. So, it's just kind of straightforward, but it's whatever the board wishes.
So we could just pass on this. We don't have to do anything on this. We could just table it and move forward, correct?
Would you table it for what purpose?
We don't need to make a comment on this.
That would be correct.
Okay.
I would think we would want to make a comment on behalf of our residents, though, to say that, I mean, if we have any kind of say or be able to speak into the situation, whether they take our comments into consideration or not, I think if we have the opportunity to do that, we should do that. I know from everything I've read on solar farms that Will County have done all sorts of impact studies to look at the impact to the land, to the residents, to the landowners. They've done a ton of work on making sure that the adverse impact is at a minimum. So I'm comfortable with that. On behalf of residents, I would think that if we're given the opportunity to speak into it, we should.
I'm thinking that, like they said, they already talked to the landowner. The land, there's no surrounding buildings, it's not gonna impact any business around there. Like Janet Blue just said, the solar panels are coming up all over the place. I mean, I don't think that's that big of an issue, especially since it's time sensitive in a sense, because it's in a week and a half. I mean, and again, to ask P and Z, we don't know their schedule, what's going on with P and Z. I don't think that's right to say, hey, we need a special meeting in 5 days.
Okay, and I might say that Will County Board has discussed this item too. And they're putting different stipulations and things like that on the record for it. So I'm comfortable as one of the board members, may I say, with letting this go through.
So if I might, the real options are an unfavorable recommendation, a neutral position, or a favorable recommendation. Whatever the board would like to make, that's fine, I'll convey that. But I do feel that it's important to convey, at least acknowledge receipt and give a return answer to that. So it appears, I don't want to speak for the board, but it appears at this point that it's really a neutral type of position. And we can certainly put on record that, as Attorney Gruchewski has indicated, that we had pretty much short notice, not enough notice to run it by our P and Z board. So
I would make that motion.
I would second that.
Any other discussion?
Hold on one second.
So we're going into a neutral position, David, is what they're saying.
I
I mean,
understand that,
Bill.
But I believe Janet already made a motion.
There wasn't a second.
Okay, that's my question, is we need to rescind that.
There isn't a second, so
Okay,
as of
that's
right now,
fine.
it's dead.
I'm just making sure we're all
Yeah,
on
we're
the
all,
same
we're all
page.
legal right
Yeah.
now, Bill. So the motion is to take a neutral position on this. And the statement will read that, we feel we haven't had enough time to really digest and get more information on it. So, is there any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
thank you. Item H3 on the agenda is a test well, request for a test well payment number 2, which is a partial payment. And attached for your review is request number 2 from Municipal Well and Pump for the amount of $30,693.60. And that's for work performed on the village's new well. Also attached is a letter from the village engineers recommending payment and indicating that all required paperwork has been received and found to be in order. So a simple motion to authorize payment of Municipal Well and Pump in the amount of $30,693.60 would be in order. My final comment would be that, if you recall, the board approved the initial contract probably about 2 months ago, and this is the second of the payments that are due.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Raisik,
Yes.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Blue,
Yes.
Trustee Gray,
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Item H4 on the agenda is Geotechnical Engineering Services Proposal. Attached is a proposal from Geocon Professional Services to provide geotechnical services, which basically are soil borings and analysis, as part of the due diligence for property located in the area of Route 50 and Monee Manhattan Road. The cost of these services are $19,360 even, and the motion would be to authorize the administrator to sign the contract with Geocon Professional Services in the amount of $19,360.
Could I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion on this? If- Go ahead.
Discussion, yes, question. Is this part of Robinson? Is this company a subsidiary?
I believe it is, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Blue,
Yes.
Trustee Gray,
Yes.
Trustee Horn,
Yes.
Trustee Raisik.
Yes.
Thank you. Item H5 on the agenda is a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. And for your review, from Robinson Engineering is a proposal to provide Phase 1 environmental site assessment as part of the due diligence for property located in the area of Route 50 and Monee Manhattan Road for approximate amount of $2,800. And because it is a little bit variable there, based on the wording of the contract, staff is recommending amount not to exceed $3,800, just to give a little room of variance there. Action requested would be a motion to authorize the administrator to sign the contract with Robinson Engineering for an amount not to exceed $3,800.
Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Or a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just to note that it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, on page 3, their estimated cost is actually $2,800. Is that correct?
You said that, yes.
Yes.
Did I miss that? I'm
It's
sorry.
on the-
That's all right.
I said, I saw the 3,800.
Yes, I did ask for $3,800 because on that, under fees and conditions,
Got it. Thank
it
you.
does say will be on the order of, and that tells me it's not an exact amount.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Blue,
Yes.
Trustee Gray,
Yes.
Trustee Horn,
Yes.
Trustee Raisik,
Yes.
Trustee Udris.
Yes.
Thank you, and one item I would like to report on that is not on the agenda. Previously, Attorney Guchewski has sent out a notice to May's Backyard Barbecue regarding the redevelopment agreement that they have with the village, and there's some default in their agreement as to the performance timeline. And in doing so, we have received a response from May's Barbecue's attorney, and all the documentation that has assured, after review by our attorney, has assured us that the project is on track and moving forward, and I believe that they have provided a December timeline for culmination of that product. So what I'm asking is that the board at least give consideration to authorize the attorney to draw up an amendment to the redevelopment agreement, which would appear at the next board meeting for approval, if you so desire.
And you understand that the reason for this is the time element lapsed, so we're kind of renewing something here. So I need a motion, please.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Time element from their standpoint, we're in compliance. The developer, if the board recalls, about a year ago came to us saying how crucial time was with respect to that project, another one, Governor's Highway. So we've been monitoring the situation. We're in compliance. They are not. from a time standpoint, so we're asking, as Mr. Wallace indicated, an extension on their behalf. The village, at this point in time, we're out no money. We have not incurred any damages. From their standpoint, they're behind. So they're asking for a time extension.
Thank you, Larry. Any other discussion? Did I get a motion in a second? I need a motion to approve this.
I'll make that motion.
A second, please.
Second.
Any other discussion?
This is a one-time extension, right? The dealing with this, so that we're not gonna keep
Yep.
repeating, revisiting this.
This is the first extension, and any future extensions would always be up to the board.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razak?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Okay, before we move on to the officials' report, I just want to comment on the last item. I don't know how many of you saw pictures of what the liquor depot and the restaurant will look like, but we're very, very happy to hear that that's finally, looks like been settled according to their attorney. Paul has already proceeded with interior work, so we're hoping to see May's Barbecue start doing their part of it. The facade of the building is going to look very nice. So it'll be a little pleasanter driving down Route 50 coming into Monee. Okay, we'll move on to officials' report. Trustee Gray,
I have no report
Public
tonight.
Works.
I know, everybody's shocked. I know, I got you.
Okay. Parks and Recs, Trustee Horn.
Good evening, everyone. The main thing I want to mention is our annual fall fair that is coming up the weekend immediately after Labor Day. A varied program of activities for every age and everybody in the family. The other thing that I want to express is a need for volunteers, for people to help out at the Fall Fest, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, I know many village employees are giving of themselves to and volunteering for this, but it is open to the public to volunteer. You can do, I think the shifts are broken down into 2 or 3 or 4 hour shifts. And so if you are able to do that, let me know, and I'll pass that along to Diana, or you can call the office here, and they'll patch you into Diana at the Parks and Recreation Building. So it's very important that we have volunteers for this event. So all those out there listening to us, all those listening online, please consider volunteering. It's a great way to get to know your neighbors in town. End of report.
Move on to Finance, Trustee Blue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our finance department is working as hard as ever. They told me that our numbers are looking good. We're at about just under 25% of our spend, which is awesome, and just slightly over 25% of our revenue coming in, so that's even better. We have the auditors coming in. The village auditors will be coming in next week to conduct their field work, and Daryl is very confident that it's all going to go well, so I'm sure it is. We're also taking applications for the part-time accountant. We've had some applications in already, so if anyone listening does want to apply for it, please check out the splash page or call the village if they want to talk about that. The only other thing, actually the other thing I'd mention, I'll put it in new business. So that's the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll move on to Economic Development.
Okay,
Trustee Udris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. Our Economic Development Director, Kevin, and also our village administrator have got the opportunity to meet with Senator Hastings and the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity recently, and basically what they were able to do with that is to go over and learn what the state has to offer us in terms of economic development, both things that they were familiar with and even some new things that are coming available. So exciting that it gives us some good opportunity there. And just in terms of the department itself, Kevin's been extremely busy with all kinds of projects that are in various stages going on within the village, from ideas that are being bounced around all the way up to stuff that's already in the works. So we're staying nice and busy. End of report.
Thank you very much, Scott. We'll move on to building services. Trustee Raisik.
We got a few things, Mr. Mayor. The building department has received many calls pertaining to ordinance number 1504 regarding containers and storage bins, storage of garbage and refuse. Please note that it reads specifically as such. All garbage, rubbish, or recycling containers shall be stored behind a privacy fence or out of view from public areas. Ordinance number 1504 passed June 24th, 2009. Secondly, BR4 concrete work has begun. Lots 64 and 87 in County Fair have submitted new home construction permits. Rental registrations and inspections have begun under the new ordinance. And lastly, Dr. Sheets' La Bosse Vino Bar Coffee House is scheduled to open in early September. End of report.
Good job.
Thank you, Anthony. Public safety, our new trustee, Scott. Our police chief is going to do that. Scott.
You scared me there for a minute, Mayor. Thank you, sir. A couple of small notes. First off, the application date for lateral transfers closed on August 20th. We have received approximately 50 applications, which will be processed and presented to the commission for creating an eligibility list, which we would hope to do within the next 60 days or so. Also, just a friendly reminder to the community that the police parking lot is a safe spot. It is for internet purchase exchanges and other civil matters. There is ample lighting and 24-hour video surveillance. Please utilize it at your convenience. End of report.
I know you will. Thank you, Scott. Move on to the attorney's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have 3 items for board's consideration. The first item is a ordinance that I drafted. It was for the board to take a review on it. Did not think action was going to be taken tonight. This is pursuant to the board's direction at the last board meeting. I did try to mirror it after a few of our neighboring villages, but what I was attempting to is just distribute it to the board for further action at an upcoming board meeting, which would be, if the committee takes a look at it and everyone finds it to be acceptable, whatever, I can make amendments to it, but I just wanted to get it to the board so I wouldn't forget. So
Move to table for now.
yeah, can we just motion to table it to the first meeting in September, I believe it is?
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on that?
I don't know if it's a good time to bring that up now. We are going to have a committee meeting on this next Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. following Janet Blue's committee meeting.
Okay. What is that date, David, for
29th.
our next meeting?
August 29th.
29th.
September
next board
12th
meeting.
is the next board meeting. So,
Yeah.
and you're having a meeting when?
Next Wednesday, August 29th.
6:30?
About
5:30.
36 p.m.
6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Okay.
5:36 p.m. following Janet Blue's committee meeting.
Okay.
So if anybody has any more input on the golf cart ordinance, please come.
Is there a motion to table?
A motion to table, did
We
I get
motioned
that?
and
A
seconded
second?
it.
Seconded,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other discussion on that? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Raisik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item is pursuant to the board's direction, I drafted an ordinance relative to the regulation of unmanned aircrafts, basically drones. Chief Colonel's good enough to give me some information that the state has just passed legislation where our ordinance may be preempted by state law. This is an ongoing issue now. If you notice, more and more states and countries, by the way, are trying to regulate drones. So at this point in time, it doesn't appear we have the authority. The state's going to take this up. This just passed, I believe, August 3rd. So you can take a look at it, but no action can be taken. Because if we're preempted by state law, there's nothing we can do. So.
Okay.
And.
Excuse me one second, can I just add something to that,
Sure.
Attorney? Just for all the people that go to IML, there is actually a seminar on this drone situation in the state of Illinois, and I believe it's on Saturday morning. Just for everybody's information here, but if you guys, when you have time, you go to schedule, this actually is coming up at the conference that we'll be attending next month. So just FYI to get everybody's thoughts and inputs on it. Again, like Anthony Razik brought it up 2 weeks ago, this probably would be a good class for a lot of us to go to just to soak it all in. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. Larry?
Thank you, Your Honor. The last item pursuant to the board's direction, I drafted an ordinance with respect to the variance for the property at 5235 West Court Street. It was directed for me to draft the ordinance for the applicant. It's up for the board's review and consideration.
Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Discussion.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. I was away last meeting, so I apologize if I'm asking something we already know. Is this the variance for the building, the pole barn?
Yes, it is.
No, this is regarding a fence.
No, it's not.
A
Oh,
fence.
this is a different, okay,
Fence.
so
This is the
then I'm
fence,
good.
yeah, not a building.
Yeah. Thank you.
Court Street here.
Any other discussion?
Yeah. No, sir.
If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
1872.
What was that, 1870?
1872.
Okay, we'll move on to old business, Republic Services, request for an increase.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, we have Ernie Lopez from Republic Services, and if you recall, probably just about a month ago, 2 board meetings ago, Mr. Lopez made a presentation explaining the situation of recyclable materials and the problems in ridding themselves of those materials. And during that presentation, there was a request for an increase of 54 cents per household. I believe that was the correct amount. And we asked Mr. Lopez to give us some time for consideration, and that time has passed and is now here this evening to find out the board's wishes.
So I need a motion to approve or disapprove, whatever you wish. So,
I'll make a motion to disapprove.
I'll second that.
okay, discussion, please. No discussion, roll call, please.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes to disapprove.
No,
Wait, we're voting yes to
Wait, I'm sorry.
disapprove. To disapprove.
I'm sorry. I've been away a week. Come
Wait,
on.
why did you look at me all funny?
That would be yes.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to the Mccorkle Outlet, proposed building of homes. We want to table that again. It's still under discussion with the contractor before we can propose anything to the board to solve the problem, okay? It's quite lengthy, so I need a motion to table, or do I? Or leave it there? I can leave it tabled. Okay, I don't need a motion or anything, but that's what we'd like to do. So we'll move on to new business. Anyone have any new business here?
I do, sir.
Yes.
2 things. First of all, we have a meeting of the Beautification Committee. I'm really excited about this because we have some residents who are very interested in it. Mr. Horn and I have the meeting set next Wednesday for 5 o'clock. We have invited community leaders, our president of the chamber, the Monee Historical Society, and the Women's Club. Most have already accepted, or they'll be sending someone if they can't come along. And I'm absolutely delighted that our First Lady, Judy Pop, is also going to be in attendance. So this is about beautifying our village. It's about bringing ideas together of how we can make our village a nicer looking place. So if you've got any ideas, big or small, bring them. I mean, nothing's off the table. It's not about spending a ton of money, because Mr. Mayor will tell us that we don't have a ton of money to spend, but come anyway with your ideas. We would love to hear them. We also had someone donate 48 flags. I don't know what, I know the flag poles were about 3 feet long, I think. I gave them to DJ, which I thought was awesome. So it's a nice start to it. So that would be our Beautification Committee. It's this coming Wednesday, a week today, 5 o'clock in here for anyone who would like to attend. That was my first area of new business. My second one is really kudos to our police department, because the chief was extremely humble in his presentation, so I'm going to say it for you. So we wanted to thank the officers who participated in Kids Fest on July 7th. I know I've had a lot of really positive feedback from residents saying how much they enjoyed meeting and talking with the officers who took part in that. And thank you again for the service for all of our police department, especially in some of the notable incidents that they've had over the last month or two, handling stuff that we never thought would happen in our village, but they're handling it very, very well. And I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of the board and our residents. Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? If not, we'll move on to open to the public, non-agenda items.
Hi, Paul Telly, 26624 South Anna. I just wanted to read a post from Sheila Bartlett. She had a post on Facebook. I don't know if you guys read it, but I believe she's the chair of P&Z. Okay, well, she had a post there. It was very interesting. Hi, everybody. We're having another event in Monee. This event is going to benefit human trafficking. I don't know how many of you realize just how bad this is in Monee and the surrounding areas, including Indiana, because of the truck stops. This is not even to mention the many children, men and women that go missing. This is just one way we are able to help. Please take the time and come out and support our efforts and benefit a great cause and organization. My question is to the chief. Do you know about anything about this, or is this?
I don't know where Ms. Bartlett gets her information. Human trafficking is a problem. We are in a metropolitan area. It is a problem throughout the Chicago area. It is mostly and deeply involved in prostitution. And in any large interstate area where there's a truck stop, you may have instances of people trying to locate or engage with prostitution. There is not a major problem at our truck stop area. It is enforced there. We have regular communications with the federal agencies that work human trafficking, and any problems that we see or any hint of it that we see, we turn that information over to them. As you know, nowadays, it's not the same business as it may have been 20 years ago. Prostitution is more of an online business, which makes it much more difficult to enforce and difficult to discover. That is why the federal agencies are taking the lead in this investigation area and in the enforcement of it. But to think that we have a major problem here in Monee, I would disagree with that statement.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that, you know, a lot of people, most people are still not, are opposed to this truck stop. And I know you say it's not a major problem, but are you saying it's a problem?
Yes, I would say that it is a minor problem for us. We have very, very few complaints. We have very little activity because of the number of agencies involved in human trafficking and the onset of technology, just as in cell phones and video surveillance of these truck stops, makes it much more difficult to have this type of activity on a regular basis. Plus, our patrols are designated and assigned to check those areas. So, no, I don't consider it a problem here. Does it occur? Absolutely. I can't tell you that it doesn't. But I myself drive through those truck stops, and very rarely do I see anything of that type of nature that I would consider suspicious.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, but my point is just one more, a fourth truck stop that's is gonna, continue the problem. So, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Anyone else open to the public? If not, there is no executive session today, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll entertain that motion.
You make that motion? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Come on, Bill.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Horn? Yes. Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. It always helps.